Hey everyone, welcome back to the MainStage Starter Course. Today is Lesson 2. If you happen to miss Lesson 1, that's okay. Before you jump into this video, just give this video a pause, scroll down on the page, and you'll be able to access Lesson 1. Yesterday, we talked about the equipment that you need to make the most of MainStage, how to get everything connected, and then a couple of the big concepts that you need to understand in order to use MainStage. Today is going to be a really fun lesson because we're going to start to talk about all of the sounds that MainStage comes pre-programmed with, how you can sort through them, stay organized, and then even begin to tweak and combine some of those sounds to create presets of your own. It's going to be a really practical and musical lesson where you're really going to be able to explore and have some fun afterwards. And we're also going to help make sure that you know how to stay organized along the way so that you don't waste time looking for things that you've already done, saved somewhere on your hard drive, who knows where. If you didn't join the Sunday Sounds Insiders Facebook group yesterday, I really encourage you to pause this video and click the link below and join the Insiders group, because if you have any questions as we go through this course, that is the place to find an answer to your question. So if you haven't already, just click the link below to head over to Facebook and request to join the group. Okay, without any further ado, I'm going to turn around and we're going to go to screen share and talk about presets and audio within MainStage. All right, folks, so today in Lesson 2 of the MainStage Starter Course, we're going to talk about how MainStage creates and processes audio. That's what we want to do, is create sound, right? And so MainStage has a specific way that it does that, and it's a really simple concept that once you grasp it, it's going to really allow you to start to create some really great sounds right away and discover that MainStage already comes with some great sounds. So in yesterday's video, towards the end, I introduced the concept of a concert, and a concert file within MainStage is a container for basically everything else that you can do. All of the customization, all of the presets and sounds that you design, all the hardware you connect, all of the settings are saved within a concert file. So it contains your visual workspace and all that. It contains all of your sounds, all of your presets, all within a concert. This is my concert file, but we're not going to start here today. I'm going to close this out. Anytime you close a concert within MainStage, it's going to open up the concert chooser, where you can choose the concert that you'd like to use next. I'm going to go to Keyboards and choose the Keyboard Minimalist Concert file. You can double click on it or just click on it and hit Choose. I like this concert file because it's really straightforward. There's not a lot of fluff, and it kind of allows you a pretty blank canvas to build on. So while this loads, I'm just going to assume that you have your controller, your MIDI controller, connected to your computer, as we discussed yesterday. And if you still have questions on that, go review Lesson 1, and you can get a little more information from the Gear Finder tool on our website. And I'm also going to assume that you have a way to hear yourself, that you have a pair of headphones connected to your computer, or you have an audio interface or some studio monitors. Like I said yesterday, if this is your first time using software-based music technology, I really recommend just plugging in a pair of headphones to start, so that you have fewer variables that you could troubleshoot if you end up running into issues not hearing yourself. You know that it's not your audio connection. All right, so with those two assumptions, that you've connected your controller and that you know how to hear yourself with a pair of headphones or whatever else, you should be able to play this electric piano right away. So that's great. We've got this nice electric piano sound, and I want you to note real quick that we are in this little edit mode right here. MainStage has 3 modes. Edit mode, where you can edit, fittingly, the audio and the presets that you want to design. Perform mode, which is a zoomed in version of this workspace right here. So when I click on Perform, it just goes to the workspace area alone, which is great for, you guessed it, performing. And then layout mode, which is where you can actually make adjustments to that workspace. And this is also where you can assign your hardware to control things on screen. We'll talk more about layout mode tomorrow. For today, we're going to hang out in edit mode right here. So really quickly, I'm going to lay out a couple of the principles and concepts that you need to understand about how we're getting this electric piano sound. So obviously, you'll see on the left side of the screen, we have this patch list labeled. And this patch, which is highlighted in blue, is called Classic Electric Piano. And then you'll see the workspace, we have the title reflected there. Then over on the right side, we have this channel strip area. This channel strip right here is also labeled Classic Electric Piano. So this is the big concept that you need to get out of today's lesson. All audio is generated or edited by a channel strip. A channel strip is what MainStage uses to generate audio. So this is an electric piano channel strip. We have an electric piano input, which is a plugin. So if we click on the middle of it there, we can open up that plugin and make adjustments there if we like. You have a place to insert audio effects, MIDI effects, and then if you've run a soundboard before, this bottom portion will be pretty familiar. You've got a volume fader, so we can make it louder, make it quieter, everywhere in between. You can mute it so you don't hear it at all. And then you can solo it so that if you have multiple channel strips going at once, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can hear just one at a time, which is pretty useful at times. So this is a channel strip right here. Now, I'm going to hit the plus button over here in the patch list to add a new patch. So this is named Untitled Patch. We're going to double click on it and name it Greatest Patch Ever. All right, so we've got a new patch, but when I play something on the keyboard, you'll see that there's no sound. So why is that? This is because patches don't generate audio on their own. They're only containers for channel strips. And there's no channel strip on this patch right now. You'll see that there's no layer floating over the on-screen keyboard, but that way when we go back to this electric piano patch, we see the channel strip layer floating over the on-screen keyboard. So that's a quick way to know if you have anything going on or not. So all we need to do to make this greatest patch ever, the actual greatest patch ever, is start to add channel strips to it. So I'm going to hit this plus button over here in the top right corner of the channel strip area. It's going to ask what kind of channel strip you want to add. For us, we're going to add an instrument channel strip. We're not going to get into the other types of channel strips in this course. Most of the time, to start off with, you want instrument channel strips. I'm going to hit Create. And when we do, we can see now we've got that layer floating over the on-screen keyboard. But there's still no sound coming out, and that's because this channel strip is empty. You can see there's no instrument, there's no audio effects, there's nothing that's actually going to generate the sound. So we need to add all of that stuff in. Now, the bottom of the screen, we have the inspector area. And the inspector is something that you're going to really want to become comfortable with in MainStage because it's a multifunctional area. When you select a channel strip, you see the channel strip inspector. When you select a patch, you see the patch settings area. When you select something on screen, you see the screen control inspector. So the inspector changes depending on what you have selected within MainStage. So it's a really important area of the screen that you're going to have to get comfortable with, and we'll talk about it more throughout the rest of this course. For now, we're going to select this channel strip. You see it's highlighted in a lighter gray than everything else. And when we do, we have 4 tabs down at the bottom in the Instrument Channel Strip Inspector. We have the Channel Strip Library, the Attributes tab, the Layer Editor, and the MIDI Input tab. We want to be in the Channel Strip Library. This is where you can start to access all of the great factory presets that MainStage includes. So we're going to go down here to Synthesizer, and we're going to choose a pad, and we'll grab this dark pad. You see when I clicked on dark pad, the instrument loaded in, all these audio effects, already ready to go. So now I can play something. If you wanted to change to a different one, you would just find a different preset that you wanted and click on it. And so on and so forth. For now, I'm going to go back to that first preset that we found. Let's say that I decided I really liked that one. Sounds nice. Now, this is the cool thing. Go back to this other patch. We still have our electric piano available to us. So you can only have one patch selected at a time. But that doesn't mean you can only use one channel strip at a time. Check this out. We've got our electric piano channel strip right here. I'm going to hit the plus button in the top right corner, and we're going to add another instrument channel strip. Let's mute the electric piano, and with this new channel strip selected, Let's go to synthesizers again, and pads. We'll grab this Airways pad. I'm going to bring the volume of that down a little bit, and let's hear how that sounds. Pretty nice. Now I can unmute this electric piano preset, and we'll have both. So the big principle you need to learn here is that you can have more than one channel strip within the patch. And then when I go to a different patch, it's going to load all of those channel strips. So let's go back to this greatest patch ever. We're going to hit the plus button, add another instrument channel strip. I'm going to go down to piano, and I'm going to choose this Yamaha grand piano. That sounds okay. Let's say that when I get up to those high notes, I don't want to hear that dark pad. I just want the pad on the lower end. This is what MainStage is really great at. Remember the inspector area that I told you about just a second ago? I'm going to click on this dark pad channel strip, and then click on the layer editor tab. Now, when you click on the layer editor, you'll see that this looks very similar to what you see over here in the workspace. You've got the colored channel strip layers floating over the on-screen keyboard. But this is where you can actually adjust the range of each individual layer. So if I click on the side of a layer and drag it around, then you can see that that change is mirrored on screen. So let's go over to the right side of the keyboard and say that I'm going to drag this dark pad down so that it's only on the lower notes. Now when I play up high, it's just piano, but I still have that pad available to me down in the lower register. So that can be pretty cool. And then let's push this a little further. I'm going to add a third channel strip. And I'm going to go with that channel strip selected. I'm going to click back on the channel strip library. And I'm going to go to arpeggiator, synth bells. And let's see what these calming bells are about. A little bit loud, so I'm going to use the volume fader to bring it down. Now, let's say that I don't want that on the low end. So I'm going to click on the Layer Editor tab. I'm going to locate the Calming Bells channel strip. And I'm going to click on the left side and drag it up so that it's only on the top end. So now I've got a 3-layer patch. Which sounds pretty nice. Later on in the course, I'm going to start to explain how you can further tweak these sounds. For now, I'm going to give you one fun thing to play around with. You can add audio effects to any channel strip by hovering over the audio effects area and clicking. Then you have all of these great effects available to you. For now, I'm going to grab one of my favorites, which is the Silver Verb Reverb. I'm going to choose stereo. And from here, I'm going to turn down the dry and up the wet mix of this reverb. And this is only going to affect that one channel strip with the bells. And this is just playing around to give you a little bit of stuff to play around with between today and tomorrow's lesson. See how different that sounds? If I bypass the reverb by clicking the power button here, you can hear that's how it sounds without the reverb. And this is how it sounds with it. So that's just to give you a quick taste of the type of customization that you can do within MainStage. So the big picture again is that a patch can contain more than one channel strip. You can create layered patches, that you can only have one patch selected at a time. But there's no limit to the number of patches that you can have in a concert. There's a couple other ways that channel strips can be placed in your concert that can give you even more flexibility. That's beyond the scope of this course. I generally recommend, and myself personally, I like to use patches for my different sounds. So I'll change patches when I want to change to a totally different mix of sounds. Now, I really like how these two patches are sounding. Let's say that I would like to be able to come back and use this concert later with the tweaks that I've made. So in order to do that, we're going to go to File and hit Save. Now, before we actually do that, it's really important that we decide where we're going to save this concert to. Because when I was starting out with MainStage, I saved concerts to Dropbox, to my desktop, to my documents folder, all over the place, and I always had a really hard time finding them afterwards. Eventually, I figured out that there's a couple of places that you should save all of your MainStage files so that they're really easy to find later. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. We're going to jump over to Finder to do so. Now, when you're in Finder, you can hit Command-T on your keyboard to open up a new tab, which is really useful. And when you do so, most likely it's going to open up to Macintosh HD like this. But for some users, by default, it will not open up to this page. So there, you need to go to Finder, Preferences, and hit New Finder Windows Show Macintosh HD right there. Exit out of that. So here you're going to go to Users and select your username, and then choose Music. The music folder is populated by Apple automatically when you download their software. So when you download MainStage, they're going to create a folder called MainStage and also a folder called Audio Music Apps. Both of these folders are actually really important, and we're going to rely on them for saving some of our files moving forward. So what I recommend that you do now is click and drag the MainStage folder over to your favorites bar. You can see that I've already got it there. And then do the same thing for Audio Music Apps. Click and drag over to your favorites bar. So then whenever you're in Finder or being asked where you want to save a file, you can just click on the appropriate bar from your favorites and make sure to save the file there. Within your MainStage folder, I like to create a subfolder called Concerts. So you can hit Control and click and choose New Folder, or you can two-finger click on a touchpad, hit New Folder and name it Concerts. Helps me keep a little bit more organization, and that's where I like to save all of my concert files. So now that we've got those two folders on the favorites bar in Finder, I'm going to go back to MainStage and hit File, Save. And we're going to click on MainStage and choose Concerts. And we're going to name this Lesson 2 Starter Course. And then it adds the extension .concert automatically. There's several checkboxes here for the type of data that you want to save along with your concert. Unless you plan on moving concerts from computer to computer, I always recommend leaving all of these unchecked because they end up just taking up a lot more space on your hard drive unnecessarily. So unless you plan to build a concert on one computer and move it to another, just leave those unchecked and hit Save. And I've already saved this concert, so it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it, and I'm just going to choose Replace. So now we could close this concert out, and then if we wanted to, we could open it right back up, and it would be right where we left off. So that's it for today's lesson. We are going to make this concert file available as a download in tomorrow's lesson so that we can start on the same page there. All right, so that about wraps it up for lesson 2 of the MainStage Starter course. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, I know I keep saying this, but I'm serious. The Sunday Sounds Insiders Facebook group is where you need to go to find an answer to your question. You can tag me, David Falksgraf, in your posts over in the group, and somebody's going to get you an answer to your question really quickly, I guarantee it. Now today we talked about how sounds are generated and created within MainStage, but that's just part of the equation. Another really important part of what makes MainStage so great is the way that MainStage lets you control things in real time. So that's what we're going to start to talk about tomorrow. We're going to start to talk about harnessing the power of creating a customized workspace that you can use to dial things in just how you would like them, even in real time in the moment. So it's going to be a really fun lesson, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. So be sure to check your email inbox about the same time then to catch lesson 3. Have a great day.